when I just hit the button and we were still chatting, people actually thought that I had forgotten that I had pushed the button because we were talking.
Yeah, I thought we were on there for a while. You're cutting out on me a little bit here. Well, hello, people. Whoever is coming on. On my end, for some reason, Brian has gone silent. Arr. See who catch up. Yeah, I thought we were on there for a while. Yep, there we are. Me. Thank you, Facebook. All right, hello, everybody. Brian and Dan here. I think Brian's connection's gone a little bit fluey, so we'll wait a second and see if we can't get him going. We have some fun tonight. We have a couple of good announcements of what's coming up. Of course, we're talking about our favorite Star Trek actor, Jeremy Roberts, who will be coming on, preferably will be coming on in a few weeks. But we also have a special announcement of someone coming on next week. So lots of fun. Brian is currently in Cape Cod, and I think his connection kind of went crazy. Here he is.
Yeah, the internet here is not very good, so don't be surprised if I go in and out. But welcome everyone. I apologize. Thank God you kept going. I forgot that you can do that. So thank God. Woo, but I'm here.
Yep. So fortunately, I'm on it too. So and my connection's great. I'm at home.
Yes.
So yeah. So there's Brian, and he's in Cape Cod, and I'm in Michigan, like I was last week and the week before that. So I'd say we're separated, but we're always separated because we got a lot of distance between us there.
That we do. So, yep, I'm down here at Cape Cod till Saturday. So I'm here with not only Damien, but my Aunt Valerie is here. So hello to her. She's watching from down the street at their condo or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, condominiums. And then my grandmother, hello. Chris Evans, welcome. My sister Heather, hello. Also with my aunt Steph as well. So they're staying together. I was down there today. So I drove to, and I'm pretty sure that you know of this, I would hope. Woods Hole. Have you ever heard of Woods Hole? The Woods Hole oh shoot, Marine and Institute, the Woods Hole.
Oh yes, I know what you're talking
Marine
about.
biology. Yeah, they're like marine biologists and stuff like that. Well, Robert Ballard, Bob Ballard. You know who Bob Ballard is?
Mm-hmm.
Who's Bob Ballard?
I would say is he a marine biologist?
Yes and no. Yes, yes, I would say he is. Well, he is the person who found the Titanic.
Yeah.
Okay.
We found what in the I'm trying to think right when this was, because it was actually quite a few years after the sinking.
I don't think 80s. It was the 80s.
Yeah,
I can't remember I can't remember. Well, anyways, where he works is in Woods Hole, Massachusetts, which is not that far from here. I wanted to go down there because they have a museum, and that's where the ferries come in and out to take the ferry from, the Cape to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard, excuse me. So, but where we stopped along the way was a lighthouse. And when you walk across the street, there's the ocean, but you could see Martha's Vineyard right there, which is literally an island. And then they had other islands off to the left. So it was pretty cool to see it. But I didn't make the museum because it closed at 3:00. So I was pretty sad. But anyways, yes.
Have you had any bad weather while you've been going there so far?
No, today was pretty nice, and then all of a sudden it got overcast. It's very windy right now, but it's warm. It's a warm wind, so it's not but it's chilly enough to where I was in a t-shirt and now I'm, in a thin hoodie type thing. So yeah, but overall, yeah. So far, so good.
We had some hectic storms here this past week. I was at a friend's house on Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday evening, and we were doing this big celebration of the Olympics. He did something called the Pizza Olympics, where people brought pizza from their favorite local owned pizzeria, and we all had to taste them and judge, and somebody would win. And we did this outside, all having fun. And suddenly, the sky gets dark, and I knew there were thunderstorms in the area, and I was like, we need to get this inside. We got it inside just as the winds picked up, the skies got really dark, and we started hearing lots of thunder. And I went out and looked, and I could pick out modest clouds, straight winds, all kinds of nastiness in the skies. And I literally, my very first thought was, there's going to be a tornado. And that's right when the tornado sign went down. So I was getting people. Now, Michiganders are not accustomed to tornadoes. I grew up in Oklahoma; they happen all the freaking time. But here, it's very rare. So I'm standing outside looking at the clouds, going, "Oh, look, we have these nasty clouds coming in. There's probably tornadoes. There's the sirens. People, we need to get inside." They're all going, "No, I want to look. It's neat." I'm like, "Get in the house. Get in the basement, people." Even an F1 is terrible. And I got inside with some other people. We got down in the basement, and I started looking at the radar, and I could pick out hook echoes. And that's a sign that you have a tornado. The hook echo is in the storm is a sign of a tornado. And I pinpointed 3 of them on the radar. I'm like, this is bad, but they're not heading directly at us. They're going to go around us. And so we waited there, and the meteorologist here said, "Oh, it's just straight line winds. There's some damage reported, just straight line winds." The next morning, those same meteorologists had changed their tune, and they were saying, "No, I think we had tornadoes. We had an F1 here, here, and here." Every place they said were all the places I pointed out on the radar the night before. And I was like, "You people, I am not a professional. You should have picked this out way before I did." But fortunately, being F1s, nobody was killed. I think there was been 1 injury. There was some pretty good damage from them, but didn't take any life, which was the good thing. But it was a crazy thing because I hadn't been in a tornadic thunderstorm like that in probably 20 years. And so getting back into one, hearing the sound, I was so paranoid. I was so scared because I was brought right back to my childhood of being terrorized by these things. I'm like, I don't want this anymore. But it wasn't as bad. So, yay.
Yeah. No tornadoes. That's a good thing.
Hello, Mark. I don't get to see much of my show anymore. I think he has game groups on Friday, so he watches on recording, which is fine. Which is why I haven't recorded, so people can watch it that way. But glad to see you on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a couple people have joined us. Okay, interesting. John Clark, hello, welcome. My other aunt is here, and Mark, yes. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. So, yeah, so we have a couple of exciting shows coming up that we need to talk about. So I've posted posts. People should know who these people are that are coming on. So surprisingly, next week we have a guest. So John Jackson Miller, author John Jackson Miller, will be joining us. And he is I call him authentic because the real Star Wars writers and Star Trek and to be able to write for Star Trek and Star Wars is pretty awesome.
Yeah. John Jackson Miller, for the Star Wars fans, John Jackson Miller is they were going to make a movie off of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is going to be called Kenobi. He wrote the book that was going to be that movie. Now that's right before the Star Wars branch and Disney canceled all their movies because their movies had tanked, and so they were worried about how they were going to move forward. I was kind of sad because that one looked really good because I know the author, I know the story was going to be really good, but Disney got real kind of nervous because of their movies not doing so well, and it happens. But at the same time, he's also one of the primary authors for Star Trek books, the books based on the newest shows. So
yes.
He's the go-to guy when he's one. I'm going to talk about this with him next week. but he's the one who, when they say, okay, we need a book set in the original series new timeline we're doing with the Discovery show with Enterprise and Captain Pike, you write it here, and they give him a general outline of what they're looking for. He takes that and turns it into a novel. Now, there's a lot more to that, I know. So when he gets here next week, I can't wait to talk about basically the process. As an author, that fascinates me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking of grabbing myself a copy of Picard that he wrote,
Mhm.
because he's for the new series there. So I'm super excited to. And it's not only that he's done so many other things, comic
Oh
books as
yeah.
well. I mean, he's had his hand in everything. So I'm just for us, science fiction geeks. We're going to be leaning more towards Star Wars and Star Trek anyway. So when we
Mhm.
talk to him, so that's next week. And then the week after is another guest.
Yep.
Um, so we're going to be, I can't wait to talk to him.
Yeah, I'm
It's going to
excited
be
about
interesting.
talking to Mr. Roberts too. Both of them are just they're there. We're the fans
Yeah,
of what they've done, so it's just
yeah,
great.
yeah. Especially him. I mean, yeah, he, it's not like he is completely well known, but he is the type of actor where he's had his hand in so many
Hmm.
TV shows and stuff that when you see him or a scene that he's in, oh my God, I know him. I recognized him
Yeah.
from somewhere. So there's going to be a lot of that because he was in a lot of movies and TV shows, right down to Murder, She Wrote, so which I love that show, by the way. If people didn't know that about me, I do love uh, Angela Lansbury. I do. It was a good show.
I've been
So
watching it on Amazon Prime over the past few
yeah,
months. Now and
yeah.
then, Aunt Murder She Wrote. I love classic mystery. I love cozy mysteries, and that fits right in that cozy mystery area.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, so Jeremy Roberts will be joining us on the 12th. So we're super, super excited about that. And the only reason why, well, not only that, I'm excited for him coming on, but he's been in episodes of Star Trek and in one of the movies.
Hmm.
So, and that's how I knew who he was.
Yep.
So, yeah, for I think both shows next week, not only are, we have our usual Facebook and YouTube streaming, I'm going to make sure that the shows are also playing in the Star Trek groups that I'm part of, so that people can join as well. And if they have any questions, they can ask them. So yeah, I'm really, really excited. Really excited. The requests are out for the guests that I'm trying to get on for history and paranormal and Star Trek, which we're doing now, science fiction in general, and all that stuff. So, but I'm on vacation, so I'm not checking my emails. I'm pretty sure there's people there waiting to come onto the show. Um,
Bated breath.
what's that?
With bated breath.
Yes, yes, they're just waiting. Um, yeah, so hopefully people come up with some questions. You guys are good about, asking people questions, get involved with this show. So yeah. But right now, everyone watching should be liking, they should be sharing this on their Facebook. There's no reason why you should not. Mark, hello, Mark. Mark, as Star Trek fans, what are the biggest plot lines you would like to see resolved or used in future productions? How do you
Hmm.
feel about that there, Dan?
Actually, well, I kind of can tell you one of the many for Star Trek that I would love to see them in production. Now, I know they've done it in books, but in production, actually kind of resolve it a little better was the Maquis storyline they had running in both Next Gen and Deep Space Nine, because they started at Next Gen, gave you a really good start, and then DS9 they had a lot of meat to it. They introduced a character who turns against the crew and becomes the Valjean of it, as he puts himself. And then they pretty much had the storyline running, and then they just brought the Dominion into the Cardassian Alliance, and then had a couple episodes. Boom! They destroyed the Maquis, and now the uprising's over. End of story. I thought, and so that's actually one of the reasons that in my fan fiction I tackle that. I kind of give them a different ending than just cut off. It's over. And so that's one that I've always thought they kind of cheated. They should have given them a little more of a swan song, not so much just, oh, it's over, moving on to the next thing, which is kind of what they did.
Deep one. I'm surprised that you didn't go with the ending of Voyager as part of your
Oh well,
resolved.
that'd be more of a rewrite, in my opinion.
Well,
That'd be more of a rewrite. I'd like to see
yeah,
them. I'd like to see them
yeah,
do something different than what they did for the finale for Voyager. Whereas for me, I'm thinking about stuff that they were working on that either didn't get resolved, or I felt that the story kind of got buried by other story and they moved on. They didn't. As I said, the Maquis story, they had it going and going and going, and they just kind of let it go. They
yeah.
didn't really tell you much more other than they had a mild conclusion when they go back and find Eddington in a prison to help him help them stop the last of the Maquis from bombing Cardassia right before the war started. So they gave you this kind of glimpse into the last dregs of the movement and what happens to them. But I felt it was just kind of cheating. I think they could have done better with it.
Mm. I would love to see Sub Commander Sela going to the planet where her mother was originally killed and teaming up with the Skin of Evil. Ooh,
Yep.
yeah, that was a terrible episode. It really was.
Yeah,
But
you're right, Mark. Sub Commander Sela, her story kind of they really didn't do a whole lot with her. They could have. I thought when they brought the Romulans into the Dominion War and signed better treaties, and so the Federation and Romulans were now BFFs, no longer Cold War enemies, that they should have had her come in. They should have brought her into the show at least for that, to show her leading the charge of the Romulan side of the war, but they didn't. And I'm wondering, of course, you have to look at the actors and actresses who say yes or no if they want to come back and reprise a role.
yeah, yeah. She has reprised her role, but in video games.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. John. Hello, John. Returning Voyager crew might still link back up with the Maquis because, yeah, technically they were Maquis members
Yep,
in the beginning.
that's not a bad
Um,
thought.
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Chris liked your end for the Maquis and 11th Fleet better than myself.
Thank you. Yeah, as I said, I wanted to, and that was something I wrote my fan fiction 20 years ago. Was when I first started writing it, and that was something I always wanted to do, was have a more grandiose, proper ending for the Maquis, not just a kind of stumped ending.
Mhm. Mark, I love that episode. I think that is what secured Next Generation because they showed that a main character could die. That's true. Yeah. It was very shocking to say the least. Plus, yesterday, I love that episode. Yep. Yesterday's Enterprise. Yeah. That was a good episode. I really did like that. So I think that they could have kind of resolved that too a little bit more. But then again, I don't know. I think they did it just perfect.
Oh, yesterday's Enterprise was done brilliantly.
Yeah.
I thought that was, and it's regarded as one of the best episodes of the entire Star Trek universe. Is
Yeah.
yesterday's Enterprise, and a lot of people consider that episode one of the turning points of the entire series, because Next Gen had felt like the episodic parable style of stories that they were using from original series onward, and that one was a lot darker, a lot more story, and it gave you a three-dimensional look at Picard, at the Federation, at her, and also it gave her a much better. Tasha Yar got a character ending that was a lot more satisfying than Armor Skin of Evil. That one, the Armor Skin of Evil, was very unsatisfying, but it was very Roddenberry. I mean,
Yeah,
it really was.
absolutely. It's almost like they gave it closure, almost.
Mm-hmm. And
You
it's
know?
one of those, it's that closure that, and what they did with it by bringing her back, or her daughter back, it was that
Yeah,
closure of she no longer is there. She gets a farewell that's satisfying, but at the same time, you don't have to watch her die.
yeah,
You
yeah,
get the impression, because the story is the Enterprise C is destroyed at Narendra 3. And so you get the impression, okay, she's going into a hopeless battle. And so we know that. So we assume that she goes off in this hopeless battle and gets to die a valiant warrior's death. And then, of course, later we find out, no, that's not how it turns out. It's changes the timeline. Something new happens. But all that was great. It was brilliant. I thought it was done well, and so
yeah,
did many fans, as I said.
yeah, absolutely. It was. Absolutely.
There is something else. Let's
Well,
say Picard.
Picard or Pucard?
I think he meant Picard. I'm going to go with that.
I hope so, Chris. I hope so. Wonder
Picard.
what he might have done with Guinan, if anything. Well,
I
you
think.
know, she's supposed to be in this next season. So Guinan is returning, I should say Whoopi Goldberg is reprising her role as Guinan in Picard. And it seems like he's dragging more and more people from the original series, or not the original, I should say, next gen, like Q. Q is coming back, um, which is very interesting. And I don't know how I feel about it, but we'll see where this season's going to go. And season 3 has already been greenlit, so we know we're getting at least 3 seasons of Picard if people watch that. So on Discovery, or not Discovery, Paramount Plus, Paramount
Yeah,
Plus.
Paramount Plus. Well, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Isn't it CBS All Access, or is it Paramount Plus? Which,
CBL All Access, I believe, is no longer. I believe
okay,
it went straight.
I say
I
one
think it's
one blended into the other. So I can't remember. It's Paramount
yes,
Plus. I think is now the parent. It's no
yes,
longer.
absolutely, yes, yep. Yeah, because I was an affiliate of CBS All Access, and now all of a sudden I don't get any more notifications or anything for it. So, Mark O'Brien and Bashir would replay her battle on the Enterprise C on the holodeck someday.
They like O'Brien and Bashir like to replay classic wars and battles on the holodeck on DS9. So that can make sense.
See, I did not know that. See, this what happens when I don't watch it. So I really do need to watch it. So yeah. Mark, yay to Q, Chris, typing in the dark and faster than normal. All right. Yep. So Picard, he meant. What was this one? Tapestry was a great episode with Q.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was an interesting what if episode. I liked that one.
Mm. Haven't seen, have you, when was the last time you've watched anything Star Trek?
Oh, I watched one of the movies last week. I watched some
Oh,
DS9 like 2 days ago. I watched Voyager last night. I watched they play him. I don't know where you are. Here we have Heroes and Icons, a channel that's like a little cheap channel that does like old sci-fi adventures and stuff like that. They play original series, Next Gen, DS9, and Voyager in that order every night of the week, starting
oh,
at
I didn't.
like at 8 o'clock at night. They start with original series, and then they go through it, and so they run through the series. So, and when you get to the last episode, tomorrow is going to be the first episode of the first season. So every night, yeah, I own them all on Blu-ray. So if I want to watch them, I can just put it in. And of course, they're on, I believe, Hulu, and you can find them on I think IMDb. but than that. So one way or another, they're around me somewhere. But there are a lot of times when I'm working on a piece of art or I'm just stitching. I've turned that on at night. There's Star Trek. So
It's been a
I do
while
watch
since
a lot of Star Trek.
yeah, I haven't been watching any, so it's been a long time since I've actually seen it. But no, I've never heard of that thing on TV. I know that BBC America
They do.
plays Star Next Gen, and I know that there's another channel that does Voyager. But I can watch them anytime I want. So I have Paramount Plus, I have Netflix. They're all on Netflix and whatnot. So yeah,
Yeah. In fact, it was last year we decided to watch the entirety of Enterprise because I had never watched it start to finish, and so I decided to sit down and watch the entire series. It's just
yeah.
I'm definitely I like what I consider old school Trekkie, which is 80s 90s Star Trek. I love original series too, but what was it? I think the last movie we watched last week was Insurrection.
I really hope that LeVar Burton gets fair consideration to be the next full-time host of Jeopardy. Well, let me tell you something. I just read something on the news about LeVar Burton hosting Jeopardy. So far, those shows have been the highest ranked watched episodes um, since celebrities have been guest co-hosting. So maybe they will think of him as the permanent host. That would be nice. So yeah,
I've been watching. Have you been watching Jeopardy with him as the host?
no. So I think later on, I don't really care for Jeopardy. It's a very interesting show. I mean, yes, I'll catch myself sometimes trying to guess or whatever, but I never know the answers, so I don't like watching.
Okay,
So
I've been watching it, and I feel sorry for him in one area. This is his first week of trying it out, and their champion, who is doing fantastic. I mean, tonight the guy netted $76,000, which is astronomical on Jeopardy. The guy has zero on-screen presence. The champion does. He is so deadpan. So it's like LeVar Burton is trying to add energy into the show because this guy, who's very smart, has no personality. It's just like zero. And
you
so
mean
people keep
the
pulling
contestant?
the contestant. LeVar Burton is like working hard. You can tell he's like his energy went from first day. He keeps climbing his energy up because he's trying to make the show exciting, entertaining. And they're all kind of, the champion who's really good is, no, he lacks any presence. And from a theater perspective, I mean that's literally no presence, and it's very difficult for him. So it's kind of a hot and cold situation for him. He's working extra hard as the host, and the contestants not giving him anything to work with.
People don't care for the current champion, so I hope it isn't held against him. I'm gonna have to watch an episode now. I'm very curious. Um, yeah, I rather watch Wheel of Fortune because Wheel of Fortune comes on before Jeopardy. So my mother-in-law, my mother-in-law watches Wheel of Fortune, and then she'll probably go and do a puzzle during Jeopardy. Unless it's someone interesting on there. So, but I'm gonna have to watch now that everyone's been talking about this um, champion or guest contestant, whatever you want to say. But I want to get to other questions that were coming up before. Oh, Mark had a question. What are your favorite Star Trek episodes and least favorite? Least favorite. So start with your least favorite.
Oh wow, that's kind of a toss up there. I'd say I think it's a Threshold on Voyager is my all time least favorite, but I'm not alone because that's considered the worst episode of Star Trek in the entire Star Trek franchise. First time I watched it, I've was watching the show all the way through, and I saw that episode, and I literally after I was going, what the heck did I just watch? It was
Yeah.
so even the actors. I've been to panels where they had all the Voyager actors talking, and somebody says, "What are your thoughts on the show Threshold?" All the actors were on stage. You go, "Oh, they hated it."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing is that I'm forming an opinion based on my first time watching it, not just because someone else didn't like it. My very first time watching it, when I was a kid, when the show was on, I was just like, "What is this?" It wasn't well done. So, and it's not because I like Voyager. I do like the show Voyager. It's just that episode really sticks out. But if I were to pick out like my favorite series is Deep Space Nine, and if I had to pick least favorite episodes there, easy pick. Mirror episodes. I don't like the mirror episodes. Never did. And
Did you like any of the mirror episodes on any other season when they did
uh,
it?
not
Because
really.
I didn't care for them, so I'm with you on that one. I didn't
The
really care
original
for the mirror ones.
the original series was the only one that was passable because it was kind of the first idea. It was just a first stab at this mirror universe idea, and they should have left it alone there. When they brought Next Gen, didn't have any mirror episodes, neither did Voyager. But then DS9 and Enterprise, DS9 had like 3, Enterprise had 1, and those episodes were terrible. And I say that because they have this big, involved, interesting story they're putting out there in that is one episode. So you get no character development, no world development, no story development, nothing there. Your characters are complete opposite of what you recognize, so you don't like them, and the story is uninteresting because next week you're not going to follow up. So what they're accomplishing this week, which is part of a big broad storyline, well, it's in their universe, so you don't get it back. Next season you'll
Yeah.
get another taste of it, and then the Enterprise one, oh my Lord, have mercy! The Enterprise one really just threw you a curveball. The whole episode is in the mirror universe. It has nothing to do with our universe, except one ship that gets brought over, and it has nothing to do with the Enterprise story. So you literally are watching a show with all the same actors and same name of characters doing a totally different show, and then you move on. I did not like it, and so if I had to go least favorites, I would say Threshold and Voyager is kind of the worst single episode. But as a stories go, I think that they really should not have done the whole mirror stuff. Just no. But I for favorites, I have. Well, let me ask, what's your least favorite?
Uh, I think there's too many to name. Um, and I think that they were probably in the midst of either, a writer's strike or something where they're just filling time and the episodes are just useless. It's like, what's the point? It really, um, I know Enterprise, where Trip gets pregnant. What the hell was that all about?
Yeah.
Like,
What?
come on. I mean, I don't know. And then there's just a couple of them that just didn't make sense. Like, why this was a waste of time. So, yeah, there's too many for me. But I think that's one of the reasons why I stopped watching DS9. Like, I think I judged it too quickly because some of them were just, I didn't understand. Like, I don't know where this is going to go. So, but I'm hearing good things because it is your favorite. So I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to watch it. I should watch it. Trekkies watch anything Star Trek at least kind of once, but
I'm going to give it a try before I say no because I'm a Star Trek fan. You know,
yeah,
I do same with Star Wars. I had people going, don't see the new Solo movie. Don't see Solo. It's terrible. I'm like, no, I'm going to see it, and then I'll make my choice. And
yeah,
it wasn't as bad as they said, but it wasn't that great. So I was middle ground on that one, but a lot of people.
right,
Um,
yeah,
so no, I'll say for my favorite episode, I like to pull back and kind of go series by series because I can't really say, well, the single favorite episode. Um, my favorite episode for original series has always got to be Trouble with Tribbles. Because as a little kid, when I first started watching that in reruns, that was the episode that really piqued my interest. This is a really cool show. I mean, I couldn't understand the cerebral stuff. I couldn't understand the esoteric stuff. Star Trek went over my head when I was that young. But the Trouble with Tribbles made me like it. And so I always go back to saying that's my favorite original series because it made me a Trekkie. Next Gen, I would have to say, that was a great show. But I think Best of Both Worlds as a two-parter, Best of Both Worlds is one of my favorites because that's such a good job. Plus, it gave Picard a chance to do something different. It gave the story a different angle. Suddenly, they turned the hero of the story into the villain against his will. I thought it was great, and that was the first time he introduced cliffhangers into season enders. And I'll never forget Patrick Stewart at a Comic-Con talking about that. And he said that he was driving around LA the summer between Best of Both Worlds. And of course, if you know, the episode ends with them saying fire. And it gets the idea that Riker is about to blow apart the Borg cube and kill, Picard and, Locutus. And he was driving in LA, stopped at a stoplight, and this family's next to him in a little station wagon, and they're doing this, angrily waving at him, and he rolls his window down and says, "Hi," and he goes, "You ruined our summer!" And they drove right on. Because all I could think about was, when's that coming back? I thought that tells me they did a good job. For DS9, wow. They're trying to think. He Without Sin, I think is what it's called. My brain is losing names right now. I've had a long day. It's a Risa episode because that was a fun way of doing some backstory on Worf and giving a lot of the characters a different setting than they normally were in. And it was fun, different episode. And for Voyager actually has some of my favorite episodes. One of my favorite all-time episodes of Star Trek is called The Thaw. You remember that one? Has the clown in it.
Of Next Generation?
No. Voyager.
Voyager.
The Thaw. And it's the one that has the clown. It's in that dream world that's being created by a machine where people are in hibernation and their minds are all linked together, and it creates this artificial reality so their minds can stay active. But they end up.
I think I remember.
They come up with. They come up with all their fears manifest into a single figure that's called just the clown. And it's a very unusual episode, but I liked it because it introduced a more cerebral, I say that properly, aspect to Voyager that really hadn't been there as much. And what I loved about it was the dramatic element. The show, that episode has such a beautiful dramatic element to it. And the ending of it, you're watching all the way through, it holds you on the edge. You're not sure what's going to happen. This strange program is really messing with them. And at the very end, they turn the tables on him. And the final scene of that episode ranks as one of my favorite scenes of all of Star Trek. And I just love it. I think that was a brilliant episode. Another one, The Year of Hell, two-parter in Voyager called The Year of Hell, was a really fascinating episode of the time machine, the time weapon that was changing history as it hit things.
Yes. Now that I've looked up the episodes you're referring to, I remember that very well. So yeah, that was a good episode. Yeah.
So I honestly think that Voyager, if I were to go down the list, I liked DS9 as a whole, as a story, my favorite show. But Voyager has some of my favorite episodes in it of Star Trek. There are some of my favorite go-to.
Pretty much anything with the Borg was good. Chris Evans, I liked DS9 episode that had Worf and
I think that's what I was talking about on Rise. I think it's He Without Sin. I think it's the name of the episode. I'm trying to remember. That was a fun episode. It really was.
which Star Trek actor gave the best, most underrated performance? I think Jerry Ryan portrayed Seven of Nine when she is essentially going through a schizophrenic episode with minds of people taken by the Borg.
Totally agree.
Yep. that was a good episode. So
As,
yeah.
as I said, Voyager has some great episodes, and I think Jerry Ryan was, I'll say properly, I think her character was, or really as an actress, she was kind of mishandled in Voyager, and the fact that they put her on display a lot more than they gave her room to act. Because when you watch, I'm taken by her acting. She did such a good job in that role, and you would think that her role would have been deadpan, boring, pedantic, because I mean she's Borg and she's playing it low emotion, very straightforward, strict, and yet it comes across so naturally, but also comes across so threateningly. You like her because no matter what, you're scared of her. And then that
Mm.
episode there, which I can't think of the name, but one you're mentioning, where she starts to her mind starts to go through all the different peoples that she's helped assimilate. Yes. Oh my gosh, that episode really blew it open and showed the vast range she really had.
Mm. It was a good episode too.
Is there any acting in Star Trek you felt was the best? Was something above normal?
Um, I would say all of I think everyone in Next Generation did a good job. The first, like many people will say, the first three seasons sucked. They didn't get their bearing just yet. I've watched the first, whatever. I didn't really, I don't know. It seemed like most of them were in it. They didn't know where it was going. And then all of a sudden, things happened. It was getting popular. The writing got good. And they're like, oh, okay, this is actually going to work. So I'm going to start, you know,
Yeah,
putting my
for
all in it. I think from season three on, um, they were all good. I think they all did their parts very well. Um, I don't know how I felt about Wesley. I mean, that role, yes, sometimes his stories were okay, like you say, passable. But I'm just like, I don't even know why he's on the show. But anyways, I understand he's her son, but
well for the
you
for
know,
the next generation, Gene Roddenberry had a tight grip control of the show during the first few seasons, and you'll see the next generation was basically a rehash of the original series, which original series was not an episodic adventure. Most people don't realize this. They look at it as just like Lost in Space or Battlestar Galactica, like, and, thinking old school, that it was episode. No, it wasn't. It was a parable adventure. Each story told a moral. Each story had this you know Aesop kind of feel to it, not what they had, and that worked in the '60s. That worked great in the '60s, and it's a brilliant show. But then you move to the late '80s, and we go into, and we've already got Star Wars and the Star Trek movies rolling around, and we've got some good sci-fi starting to give birth to a more mainstream feel. And then you bring back the Next Generation, and you just start cramming in. I mean, even the show looked like it was trying to be in the 1960s again. And when they pulled Gene Roddenberry to the side and made him not be the front runner of the show, let Rick Berman and others take over, that's when the show took off.
yeah,
And I agree. And I think for Wesley Crusher, Wesley Crusher was one of Gene Roddenberry's characters he wanted. He wanted a kid on the ship on the Enterprise. He really did. And so he really wanted that to be there. And I don't think it worked because, and I give it to the writers. They had a hard time with the character. The character really was an abnormality compared to the rest of them. The rest of them were military trained and scientists and, years in academy and years in space. And oh, look, here's a teenager running the ship. I don't think that was going to jive with any story writing. And they tried by making him this super intelligent prodigy. That made it worse. It really did.
yeah, yep. So when he finally left, I was happy. I know a lot of people probably were not, but it is what it is. There were a couple of episodes that were good that were centered around him. Um, but yeah, other than that, I think everyone did a splendid job with their acting and any of the series. I know that a lot of them took it serious because, hey, Star Trek's been around for a while here, so um, everyone, we have to make sure that we're making the Trekkies happy when we do these episodes. So, which I know they can't do all the time, but yeah. Um, but going back to favorites, I think is it Little Rascals or Rascals? Uh,
Rascals. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I did enjoy that
It was surprisingly good.
episode.
It
Yeah,
if you were to describe the episode to somebody, they would say that sounds stupid, but it wasn't. It was actually really good, and it helped because they got some kids to play the parts that did a good job.
yes,
The,
yeah,
the kids really, I was thoroughly impressed with, particularly the one who played young Guinan and the one who played young Rolaren.
yep,
Those
yeah,
two, they
Benson
did a
Rowe.
wonderful job with that. I mean, I was like, these kids are
Yeah,
great.
yeah, especially Rowe. Yeah, with her little attitude, I loved it. So yeah, absolutely. So, and Fury on Voyager when Kess returns. That
Yeah.
was a good episode. I really enjoyed that one. Um, and oh shoot, Offspring on Next Generation when Data has created his daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yes, that was a very good episode. I really liked that. And then what was the other one where he had to defend him? They were trying to take him off the Enterprise and he went to court.
And
Yes, Measure of a Man. Yes. That was a very good episode too. That was very, very, very good acting right there from Bakar, all of them in that episode. Oh, that was my
that was
favorite. So
that was a good episode early in the series because that was in the time when the show was still fledgling, but
mm,
they got to and moved past the point of is Data a tool or a man? Is he an object or a sentient being? They had to get
mhm.
there. And if they didn't do that early on in the series, it would have been a niggling thing they would have had written in all the way through. So I'm glad they did it early and they did it well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see, Mark. What two sci-fi shows would you want to see crossover with one another the most? What would happen?
Huh. Well, I don't know. Uh,
It's very interesting because
the
I don't really
difficult
know.
the difficulty is, unlike certain things, science fiction, particularly TV shows, builds such an individual world that crossing them over is a little more difficult because they hold different physics. One has warp drive, one has wormholes, one has portals. One, it's kind of like I think it would be difficult to cross over. I would not want to see a Star Trek Star Wars crossover. There are a lot of people who want to love that. I have no interest in that. I think that's
Yep.
just silly. Um,
Yep.
if I were to go back in the heyday of a lot of these sci-fi shows, I think honestly they could have had a fun crossover between Babylon 5 and Stargate because I think there was enough elements between the two of them that you could
Yeah.
feasibly say they were within the same universe. One just happened eons ago. One is current. There's a way they could have written that, I think, to make it, or at least mirror universe type of thing, because between the Stargate and the jump gates they could have made some kind of connection. I'm
Mhm.
thinking story writer wise, how do you make that connection that makes sense? Um, but other than that, no, it's just so difficult because they have their own worlds. It's like trying to cross over fantasy worlds that are written by and in two whole different universes.
Right.
Try to bring Harry Potter into Lord of the Rings would be impossible. I mean, I okay, anything's possible. It's fantasy, but I think it would be impossible, in my opinion, to do it well. And that's the thing. You want to do it so it doesn't seem foolish.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Wunderkind, yeah. Oh, that's an interesting connection. Quantum Leap and Sliders. That would make sense actually, because those two storylines have very strong similarities. Different realities, different time frames, different. I could see that.
a very good question, Mark. I'm stumped because I don't know what would kind of go together besides that. Um, for a crossover. Yeah, I don't know.
I think, okay, here's one that might be fun to do. It would take some stretch, but again, Stargate, because it's on Earth, more modern, but also Eureka.
I never watched Eureka.
Oh, I watched the entire series a few months back because I had not seen it start to finish in order, and it is a great show.
Well, I know what it is. I don't know. I never really paid too much attention to it. So yeah, but yeah, that's a very good question. So I'm liking these questions.
Mark's good with the
Yeah.
questions.
Eureka was a fun show. All right, well, maybe I'm gonna have to watch it. Another thing that I'll add to the list here. Chris Evans loved it. It's on Prime.
Never
But
watched it up front. Farscape and Doctor Who. Wow. See, Doctor Who, I could see that's one that could easily cross over into a lot of things because
that
there is,
is true.
there's a lot, crossing over timeline, crossing over barriers. Doctor Who has such a fluid science to the show that it's easy to consider it could, they could integrate it into. I could see him showing up on Star Trek, being from an alternate universe. So yeah, I get Doctor Who definitely has a more openness to it.
I guess so. It just depends on the doctor, I guess. Farscape. I do like Farscape. Oh. And I think I might have, I don't know if this would work or not, but wouldn't Farscape work with Firefly?
Yeah, it might. I don't know. That'd be an interesting connection, but it might. That has a chance. I know they did a Doctor Who Star Trek comic. I think I actually have it.
Mm. Uh, Farscape and Battlestar Galactica. Oh, I do like Battlestar Galactica. I just wish that that show had run a little bit longer. So, yeah, that was a good show. And Farscape is the one, wait, Farscape is the one with the living ship, right?
Yeah, Leviathan.
Okay.
Yeah,
Leviathan.
Leviathan.
Leviathan?
Yeah,
There you go. Okay, yes. Okay, boy, people are just coming up with mixtures here. Firefly and
Andromeda.
Andromeda. I never watched it.
I never got into Andromeda. I remember when it first came on. It was Kevin Sorbo played in that one,
Yeah,
and we watched. My brother and my mom watched it. I never got into it.
Moya. Yes,
Yeah,
Moya. Yeah, I remember that show. Yeah. John Crichton. Um, I don't even know where that show was going, to be honest with you. It was kind of interesting. Some of the episodes were interesting. Some were just dumb, I guess, sometimes, whatever. But same with Firefly. Some of them were great and fantastic, and some were just like, did you
like it.
run out of some things to write? I don't understand. And then they brought it back with the movie, right? There was a movie
Yeah,
for
because
Firefly.
the show, or Firefly, well, both Firefly and Farscape had movies to try and clean up the fact that the show was ended abruptly.
Mm,
For Farscape, they ended it with just basically cliffhanger and like, oh, I'm sorry, the show's no longer on. And fans were like, what? And
yeah,
so they got them to a new movie, and Firefly the same thing. They ended it, and fans were like, bring it back. And so the bit of a pittance they threw at them was to do a movie, and
yeah, yeah.
I don't think that was fair. And I think to me it never makes sense. And Netflix is one of the worst at this. But a lot of people done it where they have a show that's hugely popular, doing really well, goes a couple seasons in, and then the executives go, "Oh, we're going to end it now." and you have a fan base going, we were watching that.
X-Files and Roswell. Roswell. Is Roswell the one where he's the alien sheriff? Is that the one? If
I
I
remember.
believe it's on the, or am I thinking of a totally different show?
I can't remember. That one I actually didn't watch. I didn't care for X Files either, so I was not.
I didn't watch, yeah, I didn't watch that one either growing up. So yeah, that was on a long time ago. Yeah.
As a kid growing up, I just didn't. Although, um, all my friends loved it for the sci-fi community back when I was a kid when the show was on, and I just never got into it.
I didn't either. I didn't either. That cliffhanger sucked on Farscape. The two main heroes are turned into crystals and fall into the ocean. Yeah, don't remind us, please. I don't want to I have not seen that episode in a very, very, very long time. So my sister says Starship Troopers and Riddick.
Oh, I was just watching Riddick last night. Yeah, huh? That would be different.
I haven't seen Starship Troopers in like forever. It was a good movie, kind of like whatever giant bugs and but yeah, it was a good show or a movie or whatever it was. Movie. It was a movie, right? Yeah, two of them.
Yeah, they did too.
Yes. It was a movie. Yeah, I remember that.
I
Yeah.
know. Star Wars and Spaceballs.
Okay. That would be very, very interesting
I,
to see.
I have to say this though, and it's sad to say this, but I watched Spaceballs a couple nights back. It was on TV. We just watched most of it, and I sat back after it was over, and I thought to myself, in all honesty, that was a better, more concise science fiction story than the last Star Wars movie, and that shouldn't be true.
Yeah.
Yogurt, he makes money.
I'm old enough I could have seen the original run of the original series if we had owned a TV at that time.
I'm not.
Ooh, yeah. So, well, this has been absolutely interesting. I love how everyone's been commenting and coming up with their own crossover things. We should do this a little bit more often. But next week, John Jackson Miller.
Yeah, I'm sure Brian will be posting the link for his books on Amazon. You can check him out. Pick one of them up.
Absolutely.
Bring your questions in. He does Star Wars. He does Star Trek. He does his own stuff. He's got a finger in the pulse of most of the major sci-fi right now. So get ready. I think it's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to talk to him. Yeah, and I'm gonna grab his book too. I need to start reading Picard, so I'm interested to see how he has written. You asked for questions, laugh out loud. Have a good night from Mark. Thank you, Mark.
We're
Yeah,
glad
so
you
next, yeah, next week's gonna be awesome, and then the week after is gonna be even better. So be prepared. The next two shows are going to be fantastic.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I can't wait. So thank you everyone for showing up, watching, participating with Dan and I. And we'll see you next week.
Yep.
Right? You have a show tomorrow?
I might. I have to get my story edited and prepared, and right now I can't type because after I told Brian this before the show, after finally getting all the stitches out in this hand, I can now use the hand fine. Tonight I'm cooking and I burn these three fingers. Bad. I mean, I'm currently covered in lidocaine trying to keep them in good shape. So yeah, unless they get better, I may not have a show tomorrow because I won't have any material.
Yeah. Well,
I
like I said,
I need to stay
stay
away
out
from
of the
the kitchen
kitchen.
for a while.
Yes. Yes. That's what we agreed upon. You will be restricted from kitchen duties with any sharp objects or anything that gets hot. Maybe you shouldn't touch the microwave either. So
I
you never
probably
know.
should do
But
something.
yeah. Um, I am gonna go because I have plans to have some wine coolers, play some board games. It's game night for us and my two aunts, so I've kind of started early. But I still have to drive all the way down there. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. So again, everyone, thanks for watching, Dan and I, and we'll see you next week. And yeah, that's about it.
One last announcement. In
Oh,
2 weeks' time, I'm going to be in Ann Arbor, Michigan at the Dreaming Dirty Book Fest, and I got invited to that. It's in Ann Arbor, Michigan, on I believe the 14th of August. So a little over 2 weeks away. And so if you want to come by, see me, say hi. I'm gonna have most of my books there for signing, some pictures, me, whatever. Come on over.
that sounds like fun.
I hope it will be. It was the very last minute, but I'm glad to be getting back in the groove of doing book signing. It's been too long, and
Yeah,
I've been drumming up guests, so I need to keep doing this.
absolutely. Well, make sure to mention it next week and post it.
Oh
So
yeah.
that way I'm pretty sure people are watching and from that area, they'll want to go and meet you and get some signed books and stuff. So yeah, will Earth's last starship be with you?
Earth's last starship will be. Earth's last Starfleet probably won't be around until next year sometime. But
Mm,
Earth's last starship will definitely be there.
yes. All the books are good. All right. That's it. I have no more. So goodbye, everyone. And again, thanks for watching. And we will see you next week with John Jackson Miller. It's going to be epic. Goodbye, everyone.
Good night, everybody.